Coming to you live from an animated interdimensional cross rip, it's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host, Kevin Lenihan, which with me as always... Sorry, I got possessed by the spirit of Porky Pig for a second there. With me as always is John Ferris. John, how are you doing today?
Zany, maybe? I don't know.
Are you manic?
Manic?
Are you zany? Zany's a good one.
Yeah, Zany's very cartoonish.
Can we say goofy, or is that copyrighted?
Oh god, yeah.
Will we get sued by
Mickey
Walt?
Mouse has the sniper rifle trained right on your forehead right now.
You're gonna get taken out by Walt.
Say it again, motherfucker!
Oh, good lord! Yes, so we're surrounded by the cartoons. And it's awful. They have spilled into our dimension, or we've spilled into theirs.
They are definitely a lot to handle.
Yeah, we're commingling in a way that I find very, very, very uncomfortable. Yeah, they're a bit much. I think that's the problem, John. They are... everything they do is sort of extra.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like
that's terrible.
Yeah, they're really desperate for attention. And it's fucking horrible. And I'd really like to get rid of them if we can.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. This has never happened before in the history of humanity. But I discovered it has been visualized and imagined by some of the best creators around and some of the not best creators around. So I have 3 movies here about this subject that we can just have a look at now, getting straight into it because this is very urgent.
Yes.
So... From 1992, we have Cool World, directed by Ralph Bakshi. Then from 2001, The Far-Flung Future, we have Monkeybone, directed by one Henry Selick.
Oh.
Yeah. And then from 1988, a million years in the past, we have Who Framed Roger Rabbit, directed by the great Robert Zemeckis.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. The man who's probably shaped more of our childhood than we realize.
Yeah, man, I was crafted from the clay by this man, probably you might say. But anyway, before we get too reverential, let's just sit down and watch these movies. All right, John. So that was an experience.
You could say that.
I could say that. That's a nice neutral way to begin
to talk about this piece of shit.
So yes, we're going to talk about Cool World from 1992, directed by one Ralph Bakshi. And usually at this point, I would say to you, John, here, John, what did you think of this movie? But I know what you think of this movie because it's what everyone probably thinks of this movie.
No, you know what? I think there's like a small group, a small niche group of people who probably adore this movie.
Perverts, John?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. Like, I mean, I guess the perverts is not... That's very reductive.
I mean, like everyone's got like a kink and stuff, like their own kinks and stuff like this, though. And yeah, like fine if you're not hurting anyone, go for it. Like who the fuck cares? Like too many people are hung up on people's kinks, but
indeed, but don't shoot it directly into my eyeballs, please, because I don't want it. I don't want it.
But even even despite that, right? So in this movie. Just to
try and explain the plot to Cool World because I am going to strap in for this because I'm not sure what it was.
Well, there's like Brad Pitt's this guy from the 50s, isn't he?
Yeah,
he comes from
inexplicably he's from the 40s. He's just back from the war.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, he's back from the war, and then he gets.
We assume the Second World War by his uniform and the dress of the people around at the time. It looks like it.
And then he goes for a motorbike ride with his ma, as you do.
As you do. You put your ma on the back of your motorbike with no helmet.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, I found it hard to feel sympathy for him because it's like, well, I mean, safety first, motherfucker.
I don't know. That was a different time, John. That's what I like to say. It's a different time.
But then... Yeah, they get into an accident, then all of a sudden he gets transported to this cartoon world, Cool World.
After he kills his mother, it's worth noting that the reason it happens is nebulous.
Yeah.
Where he has had a car crash, some drunk driver hits them in the desert, and they go flying off, and his mother dies, and the paramedic is talking to him, and he gets up and reaches out to nothing, and then magic happens.
I guess it kind of implies that like doctor character
is zapping him there for some reason. Yeah, we get a little kind of a cartoon professor man working on a machine. And then there's a hole that he opens and is looking through at footage.
Yeah.
It's clearly footage he's looking through at. And then he disappears into the other world.
Uh-huh.
And
like weirdly, the kind of instead of kind of leaning into that and like maybe doing a fish out of water story, or like where he's having to deal with the loss of his mother, maybe you could do something where like, is that world real or is it all in his head and this is his coping mechanism? No, they just like throw that out the window. It's cut to the 80s. And
do they note, because I don't know if I blinked and missed it, do they note that it is flash forward in time?
I think it
did any text come up on the screen and say like 40 years later or whatever?
I missed it, I'm pretty sure, because I was sitting there very confused going, at one point I turned to my wife and went, is it the 80s now? Like after it had been following Gabriel Byrne for quite some time.
Yeah.
And she went, yes, it sure said it was the 80s. And I was like,
did it? Oh, right,
what?
okay.
Oh, right. So I
missed that too. Man, this film did not hold my or your attention. I guess I was really trying hard to concentrate on it at times though, because I felt like I owed it to myself to at least understand what was happening. And I was so baffled. But to me, this film feels like the people doing the live action parts and the people doing the animation didn't communicate.
And didn't like each other.
Or maybe didn't like each other, because it felt like they shot a bunch of live action stuff and then they didn't shoot enough live action stuff, and then they had to sort of try and make up for that with the stuff in the animations. Or that like they looked at the film and realized it was boring and they were like, right, what can we do?
That still doesn't account for like this stupid like ghostly kind of things that just like drift past.
Yeah, those things. No, you know what that is, John? And I didn't look this up, so I don't know. So this is all based on assumption.
Yeah, right.
What that is if you look at like every now and then, yes, you'll get like non-colored in things going by.
Yeah.
Making whoop, 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 whoop noises out of nowhere, out of context. They are not acknowledged. It just happens. It seems to me that was something they did just quickly to make scenes have more movement in them. Because
there is certainly a lot of movement in the scenes, I'll give them that.
Yeah, what those are is they're actually preliminary sketches. If you look at them, they're drawn. They've had the wireframes and stuff drawn on them. Yeah. For like the initial like thing before you draw the actual details on them. So it's like they just had a bunch of stuff that they hadn't finished yet. They hadn't done the next two layers of work on them. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, I guess I can only assume they ran out of time. Like, let's just use these. Let's just use what we've got because we need to put this together. And then it's just all this unfinished crap flying across the screen. And characters just saying things out of context in the background. And John, my main thing I was thinking about when I was watching this film was that I was sorry we didn't do it last year.
Right?
Because this would have definitely made my shortlist for the worst films we watched.
Yeah, definitely.
This would have been, it sounds weird to say it, but this might have been in competition with Uwe Boll's House of the Dead.
Yeah,
for the number one spot. This film made me
ugly movie as well.
It's horrible to look at. It's badly done. Like the acting and it's terrible.
Yeah,
and like Brad Pitt can really act.
This
when
was
he
kind of
to.
This was like in the younger days where I think he was just coasting by on his looks before he kind of went, I should probably try.
Yeah, but it's absolutely terrible. Gabriel Byrne's bad in it. Kim Basinger is just a sex object.
Yeah,
100%.
And plus,
for the whole film.
It's really jarring just how the only good animation in this is the sexualized female characters. Everything else is really badly like you can tell they just didn't give a fuck, and you can tell what the focus is in this movie.
Yeah, as soon as you see like Kim Basinger's character or the other girl that he slaps around all the time, that he lives with, her, like, it's really obvious that what they did there was they had real women that they filmed and then drew over.
Yeah.
There's a huge number of frames of animation on them, and everyone else is like 4 frames a second.
Yeah. Like
herky-jerky, fucking like we had to get this done in an afternoon kind of way. And they really spent a lot of time drawing over Kim Basinger.
Yeah.
A lot. To the point where it's really creepy.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in a horror film really creepy kind of way or like it was supposed to be. The people who made this film are creepy people. They are creeps. Yeah. You know, they are I mean, I can't it is just, it's really misogynistic from start to finish.
Massively.
It's a fucking disgrace. Everything about this film is a disgrace in a lot of ways. But it's so fucking misogynistic. It's fucking disgusting. The plot is completely fucking incoherent.
Oh yeah. They start like throwing in things like when they get to the real world.
Yeah, because this is a rule that there's a thing that I didn't
spike
tell you
that no one ever talked about.
There's no setup for anything.
And like the way Brad Pitt gets back to the real world, which you find out like he could do at any time, is he just thinks of his mad Anakin. It's like,
it's like
what?
It's kind of like just use your imagination. I think is
and
what
at one point he says, "Oh, me and that professor guy or doctor guy, we mapped out the tunnels between the worlds." Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's all this implied stuff that they try to sort of shoehorn in.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't be bothered actually filming it. Or like animating it probably was the more expensive aspect of that, I would imagine.
I couldn't get over though that just how brutally ugly the movie was and
it is,
how so many of the characters didn't gel, like they didn't seem like they belonged to the same world. It was all it just didn't feel right. And I mean, you can do that and do it well. You can have this like eclectic range of different characters when you're in a toon like world, but this just did not work. And these elongated scenes of like just shit happening in the streets, and anytime it went from like the cartoon world to real world, like a real world set, it was really jarring and really stupid and really ugly.
Yeah, it was like there was all this stuff that they would try to like make look cartoonish. Like they had like objects that were like clearly just like styrofoam with the pictures glued onto them to make them look like they were the cartoon thing while Brad Pitt's walking around. Oh, it's terrible.
And even like the decisions of when that happens is really weird and really bad. And the I think for something like this, because I think this is important as well, the characters, like you can tell in the kind of production side of things, they didn't put enough care into the real actors' eyeline and what they're looking at.
No, they are looking in the wrong place all the time.
And it's so distracting when you see that. And I mean, we'll get to one later here, but that does it very well. But
yes, it's a deep contrast to a film we'll talk about later. Yeah.
But like that's so important for something like this. It just seems like all they really cared, because I mean, essentially the story in this is that Hollywood,
terrible.
Kim Basinger's character wants to be real. So the way the way to get real is you need to get a real person and fuck them. That's the story.
That's the whole focus of the movie, is that these toon girls all want to have sex all the time.
Yeah.
And they all want to have sex with Brad Pitt, but they can't because it's a crime.
So they settle for Gabriel Byrne.
They can't.
Bit of a leap there, but
yeah, they can't because it's a crime to have. Well,
it's a crime to have sex with Gabriel Byrne.
They call themselves doodles, and they call humans noids, which I assume humanoid is what that's short for. But they're humanoids as well, because it's anything human shaped as humanoid. Anyway, I'm not going to get into fucking sci-fi and fucking scientific classifications here. But
wasn't there's something like, was it Domino's Pizza or something had the Noid, or
that was the Noid, Avoid the Noid. Yeah, that was a character in Domino's in America.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have been exposed to that. We wouldn't have been
exposed, but I've through.
He was an angry little red guy who really, really wanted to stop pizza for some reason. That was the whole thing. It was like a cartoon in the ads. He'd always be trying to stop the delivery guy from ruin people's pizza.
I just had to look it up, and yes, it was Domino's Pizza. It just shows you how invasive American culture has been on us that I knew that. But his first appearance was 1986, so this movie has no excuse.
For Noids, that was already an established thing.
Yeah, it was already a thing. So that's another point against it. But
and like this movie, its plot just sort of stutters and sputters.
What plot? It was written as they went on. There was
it's a herky-jerky mess that seems like it does seem like they didn't film most of the stuff that they had intended to film.
Yeah.
It feels like they had a plot at some point and it got edited down to the point of complete nonsense, where there's just huge holes that they had to fill with animated crap and people shouting stuff after people so that we could get a salient plot point as they're leaving, because they forgot to have a real person that was supposed to say it in the scene say it, so a cartoon just shouts something to establish something, and it's just a mess. I mean, you could watch it and like get some kind of enjoyment out of how confusing and bad it is, but I was miserable from the moment this film started to the fucking second the credits rolled. It was genuinely difficult for me to watch it, and I am not exaggerating. This would have been in my top 3 probably worst films if we had done this before the end of last year.
Definitely.
Easily.
I got so angry watching this. It's just a complete waste of time.
Yeah, that just sums up this film for everyone involved, the filmmakers and us, anyone who might watch it. This film is a complete waste of time. Okay, well, the zaniness is turned into manicness, which is then turned into chaos, which is then turned into me being very, 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 very annoyed.
It gets a bit frightening when people start getting manic to this degree, and so many of them with sharp things and dangerous things.
Yeah, they throw things around, and it's just like, that'll kill a regular person. It's not like cut to next scene and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Cut to next scene and I'm hospital, usually.
I don't think they realize this. In fact, they all might be, you might be able to categorize them all as psychopaths in that way.
Yeah, they have no sort of, well, is it that they don't care, or is it they just have no concept of consequence?
Yeah.
Is that it? You know, I guess
either way, they're dangerous.
Yeah, either way, they're dangerous. But John, let's talk about why Brendan Fraser doesn't do movies anymore, will we? Let's talk about the reason why Brendan Fraser's career suddenly ended in around this time. Oh. Hey, whatever happened to Brendan Fraser? I'll tell you what happened to Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser did Monkeybone, and then that was it for a while.
Mistake. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame, because I think Brendan Fraser's a good, likable...
He's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, he kind of... In a way, he kind of makes those like mummy movies and stuff. Like he's kind of fun to watch, and actually, I really like his the character that he played in Scrubs. I thought they were very good episodes and very well done.
He's grand. Like I mean, we've discussed it before. We didn't do this film, but we did talk about it because of the director having directed other films that we were doing. But The Mummy that he is in is very watchable. It's not a good film.
Oh no,
but it's fun.
It's crap, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's crap, but it's fun and it's stupid, and a lot of that is thanks to he is a very charming sort of guy.
Yeah,
and he can really pull that crap off. He can pull off the slightly bumbling adventurer very well.
Yes.
That's not the character he's playing in Monkeybone. It's hard to nail down what the character he's playing is in Monkeybone, because it seems like it's barely a character.
Yeah.
He's just sort of futzing around between scenes, and like it seems like he's this nervous guy.
Yeah.
And then he's nothing, and then he's just being led around by the nose by other characters in cartoonish scenarios. So the plot of this one, which also involves a horrible accident at the beginning, is that how does he get hurt? What happens to him?
Of course, the horrible accident in Cool World was the making of Cool World.
Yeah, indeed. That was the terrible accident that they did.
And the terrible accident this is the making of Monkeybone.
The terrible accident was, whoops, we accidentally greenlit the film. It was a car accident again, wasn't it?
Yes,
yeah. It's another car accident in Monkeybone. And
there's like a whole weird thing in this where it's almost like the lesson he has to learn is to be okay with commercializing his intellectual property.
Yeah,
because that's how he ends up in the coma in a way. Because the stuff that they're trying to sell him, and then
that's right, it inflates in the car and they reverse backwards, and then Bridget Fonda, who plays his erstwhile girlfriend / not quite yet fiance, is apparently unharmed in this terrible crash, whereas he is just.
That's it, straight into a coma.
Yeah, you're in a coma, and that's that, mate, and maybe you're just doomed from now. Yeah, so, oh, gosh. So anyway, poor old Brendan Fraser. This film is, now it's directed by Henry Selick, who has done good work.
Oh, yeah.
In the realm of animation. There's a lot of stop motion animation in this. There's a lot of, claymation, I guess people like to call it as well.
A lot of stuff that gets credited to other people, usually.
Yeah, so there's the film opens with a cartoon that's supposed to be like the pilot for his cartoon
that's terrible.
That everyone loves, and it's one of the least funny things I have ever seen.
It's one of those, like, I looked at the age certificate on this, and it's 12, and it just reeks of that, you know, middle-aged white guy trying to write something that 12-year-olds will like, kind of, you know, hey fellow kids type of shit, you know. It's so bad, and it's just like, here Monkeybone's like, it's his erection.
Gee, Monkeybone, I get it.
This is a great idea, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's another weird fixation with sex in this one as well. Now, I think a lot of this comes from, and we will talk about this more later when we talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I think this comes from maybe the people who made these films, maybe at an early age, seeing Who Framed Roger Rabbit and fixating on the Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
Fixating on Jessica Rabbit, whereas that is a small part of the film.
And there's also a reason. We'll get to more in depth when we do.
I mean, it gets addressed in that film. Yeah. Talks about it. But it's like they missed the fucking point because they're brain dead, and I'm mostly talking about Cool World here still. Because they're fucking brain dead disgraces. But Monkeybone does some similar stuff. Now, the plot is that there's a car crash, and then everyone who's in a coma, he goes into a coma, and it seems like everyone who's in a coma is in this weird animated world.
It's like a nightmare realm.
It's supposed to be like Hypnos, played by Giancarlo Esposito,
who is the only good thing in this.
Fucking brilliant, and him walking around on his wee fawn legs are just—it's adorable and funny as fuck. So props to the puppeteers and all that stuff. That stuff's very good, but everything else is fucking terrible. There's some CG here and there that's really bad, and the plot is just, again, the plot. You really have to look for it. You know, you really have to like quest for the plot.
Yeah.
And go, what is it about? I guess he's trying to wake up, and then they have this sort of mid-movie twist of like, here's what's really happening. and you're like, oh, now it's way more boring because we're having to spend a lot more time in the real world with Brendan Fraser trying to act like a cool guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like they're trying to take the piss out of cool guys. Like
There's
they
a
give him a little
particularly
soul patch. And,
God, I forgot about it. There's a particularly embarrassing scene where he is trying to seduce his fiancée and swings about the bed and it is embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brendan.
Yeah, he deserved better
Brendan.
than this.
Yeah, you did. So everything about this film is a fucking train wreck. I mean, like some of the animation is good.
It's actually because once he goes
enough.
Once he goes into that kind of nightmare realm, it was like, oh, actually, this is kind of cool, and it kind of gives you Nightmare Before Christmas type vibes, which is another
director.
Henry Selick.
Yeah.
But it just pisses it away. It wastes the potential that it kind of has, and just as you're saying, it midway kind of like focuses on, oh, Monkeybone's now got his body in the real world, blah blah blah, which is really boring and really goes nowhere, and they labor over stuff that they shouldn't. Where they could have probably told a fairly interesting story. Again, it's like what I said about Cool World, where you could have had, him coming to terms with a character flaw or something that he needs to get over, but they don't do that. You kind of think that's where it's going to go, but they don't set up anything that he needs to be more assertive or something like this. There's nothing.
Nope.
And there's like a weird there's like this weird bit with Stephen King and like Edgar Allan Poe.
Well,
and
there's a bit with
Steve King. Sorry,
I looked into that because it's not Stephen King, but he says he's Stephen King, and it's the weirdest fuck up ever. So it was actually supposed to be really Stephen King.
Brilliant.
But
and then he read the script and went, no, thank you.
Maybe, but basically what happened was at the last minute, he was like, oh, I'm busy that day. So they had to fumble real fast and find a lookalike.
Brilliant.
To show up, dress like Stephen King, and do his hair like Stephen King, and have him come and say, hello, I'm Stephen King, and then walk out of the off camera. It's weird. It's a non-cameo cameo.
He also mentions though that Cujo stole his body. Like he's done what Monkeybone's done this time, and it's just like, but Monkeybone at least is a character that this guy's made and talks and
is animate and speaks.
Yeah,
and is
Cujo is just like a rabid dog.
Cujo was a rabid dog that went wild and terrorized the neighborhood. Like. The idea, like, I don't remember ever seeing in the news Stephen King running around on all fours and savaging people. That's not a thing that happened.
Oh, you don't? 2001? No?
Don't.
Oh, definitely.
John. Yeah, so this is like a real dark time in Brendan Fraser's career.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the films he was doing in, like, the years... So he did The Mummy in 99, right? Fine, great. Blast from the Past. People like that.
Yes.
I don't remember much of it. George of the Jungle, all that stuff. That was all several years before.
Yeah.
So this is 2001. So in 2000, he did both. He was in, I think it was a cartoon version of Sinbad that wasn't very good. Nobody liked. Then he was in the shitty remake of Bedazzled.
Oh dear.
Which was awful. And then he was in this. And then they did The Mummy Returns. I mean, that's just 3 for 3 fucking diarrhea right there.
Bad.
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry.
I've heard good things. I haven't checked it out yet, but that Doom Patrol series.
Yeah,
he's in that. He's like the robot man or something.
Yeah, he's that. I think that's literally the character. Is like, I think he's called Robot Man or something robot. Because it's like they're a bunch of like reject superheroes. Yeah. They're a bunch of like shitty superheroes that are like deeply flawed and messed up. And like he's like, they're all like constantly in pain and stuff all the time. And yeah, because it's like, he's a weird... I can't remember it. Yeah. it's something robot. Robot is in his name.
Yeah, and it might
really
actually just be
stupid.
Robot or Robot Man.
Yeah,
But
people apparently that character has a lot of pathos and is really like relatable. I hear. Robot Man is the voice. Yeah,
okay,
is the name. He's the voice of Robot Man. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I heard about this. I was going to check it out, but I was kind of suffering from superhero fatigue, which I think is a real condition these days. Yep.
It's a very common thing, John. I've seen a lot of it on the wards. Yes.
So maybe sometime if I find a cure.
Like, I think the boys let me ease back into that whole thing. So
yeah.
I'm a bit I'm like, if it's a little bit cynical, I think I'm on board.
Which says a lot about us in general.
Yeah, which is why I'm totally on board. I haven't watched it yet, but the new James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, I do want to see that.
Yes, yeah.
And he's doing a new movie, a spin-off of that, a Peacemaker, that he has pretty much... I think it's a TV series that he's doing, maybe? I'm not sure. There was a trailer for it, went up the other day. I'm very excited to see that because, as you know, John, if James Gunn...
You'll watch anything James Gunn does.
Yeah, if James Gunn made a thing, I will at least sit down and watch it. I haven't disliked any of his stuff yet. He's kind of I feel like you're always on to a winner with that guy. So I will watch that. And we haven't talked a lot about Monkeybone, and I am fine with that because it's a bunch of shit.
Like,
it's not as bad as Cool World is what I say about it.
Yeah, that's the best you can say about it.
Yeah, it's way more coherent than Cool World, but coherence was not any a feature of Cool World at all. So that's not saying that much, really.
It just does feel like it's wasted potential in a way, or it's just kind of it's been. I think down to the writing as well, where it just feels like they focused on the wrong things and they didn't build the characters up or anything.
Yeah, it feels like it's all the real world stuff in it is so we wrote a bunch of stuff that we thought Hollywood executives would enjoy. Yeah. Not regular, not just not
living, breathing
else.
People.
Not living, breathing people. Yeah, it feels like it's aimed. It's like you see this a lot in like cartoon live action adaptations of cartoons.
Yeah,
where there's always some like corporate thing going on in all of them, even though that's something that like you look at a cartoon like say like the Garfield movie. Yeah. The Garfield movie has an evil corporation in it. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you realize, oh, this is Hollywood. This is how you get a green light on something like this. You have to write it in a way that a soulless, stuffed suit scumbag will look at and laugh at and think is funny. That maybe like someone who has like, you know, someone who isn't a psychopath would find funny, which is why the Garfield movie is so bad.
Yeah.
Is because, yeah, that's how you get it past those scumbags.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what's happened with Monkeybone. They had to put in this stupid plot about selling merchandise into it to make it palatable.
I still don't really know what the message was, or
I don't know either.
Because I'm just going to spoil it here because I don't really give a shit about this movie. Like the end of it, where Whoopi Goldberg's death,
inexplicably,
who just kind of randomly has this, you know, change of heart and like allows Brendan Fraser to go
literally
back.
Randomly. It feels like she rolled a dice and thought, "Oh right, yeah, it came up, help." So like I'm helping.
She merges him and Monkeybone together, and she goes, "Oh, you were a bit too vanilla by yourself." I was like, "What do you mean?" But like, what did Monkeybone do? He had no positive things to do for him apart from make him a lot of money by selling out, essentially, like doing stuff that he did not feel was right morally. But that's the only message you can really glean from this.
Maybe it's the message is that you should sell out, but you should do so in moderation. You shouldn't sell it all the way.
Yeah. Right. That's maybe. I will say there is one more positive thing I have to say about Monkeybone, where I liked Megan Mullally's character. She plays his sister.
Oh, she was
trying to get him off life support.
She is on screen for like a total of probably about 85 seconds total. But yeah, she's constantly trying to get the plug pulled on him, which is the best and only joke in the film.
Yep. Like
it's very
when she's
funny.
like leaning
She's
in
just
through
leaning
the
in
window
with a
smoking.
cigarette.
Just FYI, I've already told them they can do it.
Yeah, she's fucking brilliant. Actually, yeah, she is a sort of a saving grace.
Yeah,
She
but
is a
unfortunately,
little
then
island.
you have Rose McGowan's character, which brings the scale right back down. So,
which is she just exists so that we can look down her dress. It seems like is most of like they literally have the camera plunge down there constantly.
Plus, there's like this whole thing where it goes, "Oh, it doesn't really definitely doesn't show us, but it kind of implies that her and Brendan Fraser's character might have a history, but how?
Because he's only been there for they have like a 3-month jump in this.
Oh yeah,
much like
that's
the 40-year jump in Cool World, they have a 3-month jump where all of a sudden she's having to Bridget Fonda is having to shave him comatose. They let his beard grow really wild, but it doesn't communicate that stuff very well. There's a lot of it, much like Cool World, there's a lot of sort of implied knowledge about the world they're inhabiting that you don't get to see them get. And you were right when you were talking about Cool World. You're like, the fish out of water story is way more interesting than the guy strolling around in the cartoon world confidently being like, I know how everything works here. That is boring as fuck.
Especially like he was coming into contact with things that frightened him and were in his his wee journal of nightmares. Like, it would have been good to kind of see him getting to know them and getting overcoming his fears, but it's all just wasted potential.
John, you have so much more a concept of story structure than the people who wrote this film.
That's not really saying much either, unfortunately.
Well,
it sounds like
enough.
a compliment, but I'll take it as such. But
yeah, you just introduced so many great elements to riff off there and create a story with that does not exist in this movie.
And what about I hate it when it does things like this as well. Like it Americanizes these other worlds where to get out of this nightmare world, you have to be launched into Abe Lincoln's mouth.
Why is it Abe Lincoln's mouth?
Because he's the great emancipator. So any
that's
other
like a
country,
joke someone came off with in a script room that everyone. What should have happened is everyone probably should have went, ha ha ha, yeah, but what are we really going to do though?
Yeah. It's like that. I'm going to bring up The Simpsons again. This is like the third week in a row, but it's like the B sharp when they come up with their band name. It's like it gets less funny each time. It's like
we need something that's funny but gets less funny each time you hear it. Okay. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. So this film, I'd say that the production value on this film is pretty high.
Yeah,
it looks good. When it looks good again, it's Henry Selick. He made Nightmare Before Christmas before this, and he went on to make Coraline after this, which is a wonderful film, and I love. And I think was Paranorman maybe one of his as well.
Could have been, I think so.
I think it was. I love Paranorman. It has a real sort of what people think of as like a Tim Burton-y look, but to me, what I've come to realize about Tim Burton is the less involved with a film with his name on it he is, the better the film tends to be.
Yeah. Like, and he seems to get credited for there's still people to this day think that he directed The Nightmare Before Christmas,
and he did not. He did not at all. Like, his name, because it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Because he came up with it should say based on an idea by.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the special features on the DVD, it's very obvious that all he did was explain what Jack Skellington looked like to someone else who then drew it, and then they did the movie.
Yeah.
That's his involvement with The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, I mean,
and just another wee bit of trivia just on Nightmare Before Christmas. Dog Day Afternoon actor Chris Sarandon does the voice of Jack Skellington.
He does, doesn't he? He doesn't do the singing, weirdly enough.
No, that's
Danny Elfman does all the singing in that movie, and now we're just talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas.
So we've avoided talking about Monkeybone for quite a large portion here. Should we move on?
I'll just say this. It's absolute garbage, and this was a time in Brendan Fraser. Again, I'm focusing on the Brendan Fraser aspect here.
Yeah.
this is a time in his career when he made some missteps. Yeah. And I think maybe the selling out thing, maybe it was just he was trying to do as much as possible. But I think he's still pretty good. I like where he's gone. I like the idea that he might... I feel like he's about to do like some kind of weird John Travolta-esque comeback, but hopefully not with the full stop brick wall that happened right after that. So that would be nice. So
and hopefully without the Scientology.
Yeah, I just like to say that, yes, indeed, yes. I just like to say, ultimately, Brendan, we forgive you. Please come back. Okay, well,
we watched a good movie.
Yay! I was trying to make the whole thing sort of end there with the sort of Looney Tunes outro, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
So raging. But goddamn, John,
I was just too excited. We watched it.
I know.
It's a good movie.
It's so good. See, when you watch Cool World, and then you follow it up with Monkeybone immediately after, there's sort of a crushing weight that pushes down on you that you feel like in your chest and in your soul.
Yeah.
And John, it's and then something comes along that changes your life for the better. And it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. My God, John, what a relief to watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit after these two disastrous shit shows. We get to watch a fucking example of one of the best examples of just cinematic craft that you could possibly hold up and say, this is how you construct a movie. This is how you do like a really good production. Yeah. You know? Good God, I mean, like we're talking about like Cool World, the way the characters interact, the way the human beings interact with the animated characters in Cool World is a goddamn disgrace. It's a mess. It's awkward. Yep. It's weird. It's wrong. Everyone's looking in the wrong places. There's a part where Brad Pitt supposedly tries to put his arm around her, and it looks like he's trying to get her. He looks like he's got her in a fucking headlock, dragging her down the street like he's about to murder. Like she's a hooker he's about to murder. Okay? This film is a fucking masterpiece. I did hear that like Bob Hoskins actually took like mime classes.
Yes, he did.
Before they filmed this.
He
and
did,
fucking hell, it shows, man.
He is spectacular in this movie.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Oh, he's so good. He's brilliant. His accent slips here and there, but it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
Because it like the acting is still there, the emotion is still there. Everyone is 100% committed in this film, whereas in Cool World it seemed like everyone wanted to give up and die. And like this movie is beautiful. It looks great. Just
still to this day, it looks great.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's Touchstone Pictures, which is secretly Disney. It was always secretly Disney.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they would have really good animation.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's crazy to see like Looney Tunes characters and Disney characters.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. It's something you would never see now.
No.
You would never see like Bugs Bunny standing there next to Mickey Mouse chatting it up, or the wonderful performance in the bar. There's a point where he goes to a speakeasy and Daffy Duck and Donald Duck are doing a show, and it made me wish that there was a crossover TV show that starred Daffy and Donald Duck.
Yeah.
At some point, but there, as far as I know, there wasn't. But that scene's amazing when they're trying to play the piano and they're just fighting each other.
I love watching the penguin waiters in the background because it's unbelievable the attention to detail and everything. You can tell everything's been planned out to the nth degree for where these animations are going, and whereas Cool World felt like they were just kind of like, do whatever and we'll try and draw around it.
Well, fix it in post would seem to be the complete attitude to Cool World.
There's so many like wee nuances that you're like, how the fuck did they do that? How did they like, what way did the puppetry work that they could draw around this thing?
Yeah, there's a point and it's the point I remember whenever I was a kid and I was watching this movie, because I've seen this movie a lot of times. This movie got play in our house. It was on all the fucking time. And there was always a point where my dad would stop and be like, look at this. Because he was so impressed by this one thing in this film. It's a part where Bob Hoskins is there and he's doing his laundry, where he's pretending that Roger is not there while there's guys searching his flat.
Yes, yeah.
And he's he's got him under the weasels are there, and he's hiding him in the sink.
Brilliant.
Right? And it's not just that, but he keeps popping out and the water looks great and all that stuff. There's a point where after they leave and Roger is still like talking to him and he flicks the top of the surface of the water. Yeah. And it's just like, you're just looking at that being like, how the fuck did they do that in 1988? Like, it's not computer generated. It's not drawn on animation. It's really happening. He's really flicking water at Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's incredible. That's just sort of like the sort of focal point for me of just like, how good is this? Yeah. How well done, everybody involved. I mean, holy shit!
I think it's as well. You can get hung up on the technical achievements of this movie.
Yeah,
but it's also a really good story, and the characters are really good. Bob Hoskins, as the like, I mean. You mentioned such a
good Sam Spade kind of guy. Yeah, like,
exactly. Because I was going to say, this is probably the first noir movie that we've seen in our lives.
Yeah, probably.
And probably dictated why we both kind of like our noir fiction and things like that.
Yeah.
This is probably why, and I didn't realize until I watched it this week and was like, going, shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
When
you started looking at it from an analytical standpoint, you're like, oh, hold on.
Yeah.
This is everything that all these other films have, and it's done it so fucking well. Yeah, the film noir aspect of it's fucking brilliant.
Like, it uses the cliches, but it does it well, where it's not like, even as an adult, you can watch this and appreciate what they're doing, as you say, the Sam Spade character, but they give him a bit more nuance, and they and just Bob Hoskins is so lovable in this as the curmudgeonly PI, and they've got this really good balance with Roger himself, where he could be borderline annoying to the point that you're like, I cannot back this annoyance. Like Monkeybone. Monkeybone is hateful.
Yeah.
Roger, he's got so much pain. He's so lovable, and he can't. He's like, there's like a brilliant scene in the bar when Christopher Lloyd's character is looking for Judge Doom. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Judge Doom, he's so scary. He used to scare the shit out of me.
Where he's doing, like, I love that to try and find him, he's doing the shaving a haircut.
Yeah.
And it's like Bob Hoskins is like looking through the people going, like, does he really think that's going to work? And he turns around and Roger's like,
he's like, Roger, no.
Like, he's curled up, and like the animation's brilliant. It's like him just trying everything to like fight against his own character, but it's brilliant. And Kathleen Turner as the voice of Jessica Rabbit, she's fantastic.
Perfect.
Uncredited, weirdly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. We talked about this before when we were talking about Demon Seed.
Yeah.
And Robert Vaughn does the voice of Proteus 4, the computer, in that, and he was uncredited as well. And I don't know if that's, again, something to do with like the way Hollywood was at the time or something, whereas like, but I mean, other people do get credited. It might be a contract thing, because the guy that does Roger is credited.
Yeah.
But it's weird that she's I don't know, maybe like, maybe I assume it's to do with contract negotiations or something. She's such very strange.
Yeah, she's such a distinctive voice, and
it's her
works,
immediately.
Yeah, like it works so well with Jessica Rabbit though, and like, just to address the elephant in the room of, you know, if anyone's to kind of like go, yeah, but look how much they sexualize Jessica Rabbit. Again, it's to feed into the whole noir fiction type thing, and they dial it up to 11
Yeah,
to make it more ridiculous.
They satirize it.
Yeah, exactly.
They make it a joke. Like, they make this whole thing about, like, you know, he's there to see Jessica Rabbit, and then he's expecting a rabbit to come out, and then it's her, and he's like, what the fuck? And then later on, she's like, that's not me. I'm just drawn that way.
Yes,
they
exactly.
literally call it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's the way she was drawn, which is ridiculous. Yeah, and like, they don't make it the focus of the film like they do with Cool World.
No. It serves its purpose, and then that's it. And she actually turns out, as we said, to be a deeper character than you think, and she's like really plays into that femme fatale thing, and again, it's just, that's so well done. Yeah,
she's got nuance and is well performed, whereas Hollywood in Cool World is a literal and figurative two-dimensional fucking nothing that is ill-defined.
Yeah.
Whereas Jessica Rabbit is a character. Jessica Rabbit is a real character, just like everyone else in this film. This film's so well written. It's Chinatown for kids.
It really is.
You know, it's 100% Chinatown for kids. And I learned some weird stuff this time when I was looking into this movie about the reality of that. Now, apparently they did watch Chinatown.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, there's a whole subplot in Chinatown about people buying up cheap land, and there's government corruption to get water rights and stuff like that. And it's all to do with like a big scam.
It's such a weird movie to reference your kids' movie in inverted commas. Like,
yeah, but it works so goddamn well. And then whenever they explain what's going on, it's actually very simple.
Yeah.
But it's clever. So apparently it all really happened. Not the cartoon aspect of it, obviously. But there was a whole thing in LA in the late 40s and early 50s where Los Angeles is now known as a place where if you don't have a car, you can't live there.
Yeah.
You can't get around. The public transportation system is garbage. And in this movie, they call it out really loudly, like towards the beginning, where like he takes the tram, it's the red car, which is what it was really called. And he says, these kids, as he sketches on it, I love that scene, he sketches on the back of the tram and he bums cigarettes off these like 10-year-olds.
Stuff like that you could not do these days. Oh my God.
He bums a bunch of cigarettes off these kids, but they're like, hey, mister, what are you taking the tram for? Well, ain't you got a car? And he's like, who needs a car in LA? Yeah. We have the best public transportation system in the world.
Yeah.
Which now is a joke, but back then that was real. So this happened.
That's insane.
What happened was a bunch of like car tire manufacturers and all these like corrupt government officials and stuff, they all pooled their money together and bought the red car just so they could shut it down.
This makes this movie even better.
Yeah, and then use public money to build freeways.
This is like
where all the freeways are now. It is exactly where the red car used to run. That they follow the same lines. They built literally over those tracks.
So technically, this is a alternate reality. Movie where if they didn't build those freeways, we would still have Toontown.
Yeah, we would still have John. We would still have Toontown if it wasn't for those bastards shutting down the red car.
Because I love even there's a point kind of near the end. So I'm not going to say the whole scene, but Bob Hoskins was, of course, only a toon could come up with this idea of like, because he's saying freeways to him, and he's like, "The hell's a freeway?"
Yeah, he's like, what? What is that? And he's like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
why would we ever need that with what we've got? And you're like, oh, right, okay. And then you're like, yeah, it's crazy that happened.
Yeah.
But aside from the sort of shocking, satirical, incredibly incisive satirizing.
Mental.
Isn't it nuts? Yeah. So that's wild. But aside from that, this is also just like, the dialogue in this film is brilliant. It's really genuinely, at times it's incredibly sad.
Yeah.
It's very bittersweet at times. Because like Roger has a sad backstory now, like his life's falling apart.
Yeah.
And Eddie Valiant, who is Bob Hoskins' character, which is a great name for a fucking LA PI, Eddie Valiant, is brilliant. His backstory is extremely tragic, and he's played so well. It's funny like, there's a point where when he's telling the sad story, it's really funny. Like, I laughed, and then I felt bad for laughing, but it is funny. It's when they talk about, like, they used to work Toontown and blah, 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 and they were chasing this guy, got away with, like, a zillion simoleons, which is a ridiculous thing to say, and that's why that's funny. But then he says, like, you know, we're chasing this toon, and he got away from us, and then he said, like his brother went in first, and he says, he dropped a piano on his head. And that's really funny because it's a cartoon that dropped a piano on his head. But then it's so sad because and then it just immediately brings you back to earth. Where he's just like, I broke my arm in 3 places, but like his brother didn't make it.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And you're like, fuck. But it's still funny. It's still light.
Yeah. There's even things. There's a brilliant character. His kind of girlfriend, is it Dolores you call her?
Dolores is
played by Joanna Cassidy, actually. She's great in it as well, but you can tell like she really cares about him, and the only reason she's working this dive bar is like she still believes in him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she gives him the camera, and there's like a throwaway line almost of like the last time it was used, they went to the beach.
Yeah.
And later it does this kind of like It does this brilliant wee moment of storytelling in just like a panning shot where it shows you some of these photographs that have been developed, and it's him and his brother and some of them with Dolores and things like that, just like having fun on this beach, and ones with them with tunes and stuff like this. And I just I was just watching it going, that's incredible. That like 5-second shot told us more.
Yeah.
Than the entirety of Cold World. I was like, this is how you tell a fucking story.
You get this great, really informative snapshot of what his life used to be like before he hit the bottle.
And it doesn't labour on it. You know exactly where he was, like who he was before he became this bitter, drunk. And like it's fun. It's just a fun, clever, well-written, absolutely amazingly made.
I get choked up thinking about it sometimes. I think about how good this movie is and like how it has affected me.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful film.
It's one of those ones where like I look back at a lot of movies like this that I grew up with from a very early age, and I go, is it nostalgia that's maybe peppering it a bit? And like I'm sure there is a good portion of that in this, but I genuinely can't imagine anyone watching this, especially kids, and not enjoying this, because it's such it's
wonderful.
It's a wonderful movie, and
it's a wonderful film. It makes me happy to watch it. And there's a sense of joy, and like it's embodied by Roger Rabbit because he is there. He gets sad a lot, but he always has this little sort of bit of pluck, and like, But life is lovely and beautiful, and it's so fun, and you have to really, there's this bit where he's just watching Goofy in the cinema, and he's so happy. He's on the run, and his life is in the toilet, and he's just like, I love Goofy, look at Goofy up there, isn't he brilliant? And he's so happy.
But it's also like,
in the cinema.
And I love the way it's done, almost like he's admiring the professionalism of Goofy.
It's like an artist.
It's like, oh my god, look at that. You're sitting there going, that's fantastic.
And it's beautiful. It's this beautiful moment. Like, there's a lot happens. They do so much in that one scene.
Yeah.
Where they're hiding out in the cinema. Like, the two of them, because up to that point, he's been pissed off at Roger and he's been angry at him. And then they have this moment in the cinema where they both sort of start to relate to each other. And then Dolores shows up and they have this great character moment between Eddie Valiant and Dolores. Where you're like, she really fucking loves him, doesn't she? And it's so moving and it's so expertly done.
Yeah.
And it's so in the style that they're going for. It is that film noir.
Yeah.
It's just, they nail that so well. And like, people die. It's a kid's movie, but people die in this movie. I mean, there's a bit where we see R.K. Maroon get shot 3 times in the back. And he's fucking dead. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's lying dead on the floor. There's no blood.
And weirdly,
dead.
Weirdly, the most effective death, like the worst one, is a cartoon shoe who gets dipped
disturbing.
in typically, pretty much acid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's people who die in this movie, but that's the part of the movie where whenever I was a kid, I was scared of Judge Doom.
Oh, he's frightening. Oh, he is. Christopher Lloyd is fantastic in this.
He's brilliant.
He's so good. He's
so scary. As like he's a guy who always plays like manic kind of characters. He's got the face for that, and he has all these great mannerisms. You know, Doc Brown, another Zemeckis masterpiece. From Back to the Future is that but he's like a lovable smart guy.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy's manic in just the worst way. Mm-hmm. But it's really good. But it's just like he's capable of anything.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be just straightforward about it. I mean, he's just like he enjoys murder. You know?
Yeah.
He enjoys killing these things in his dip, which is terrifying looking.
Yeah.
Which I find out as well is like they list off what it is in it. It's like acetone and turpentine and benzene or something.
Yeah.
And like that is this thing they use in Disney animation studios. They call it the dip.
Of course.
So it's a real thing that they used. So if you had like an animation cell and you wanted to reuse it, you would make a little bath of this stuff and you would dip the cell in it, and then it would take all the ink off and it would come up clean, and you could reuse that cell. Or if you'd like made a mistake, you could erase it. That's the stuff they really used to do that. So this film's just full of tiny little things.
It's great. I would recommend anyone, even that there's a lot of things on YouTube and things like that where you can watch like snippets side by side of like the scene playing out after it's animated, the scene that's in the movie, and the scene that Bob Hoskins or whoever like recorded, and it's amazing. It's so interesting just to see the behind the scenes moments for this movie, and it's just an incredible movie. It's just great.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
I would recommend it to anyone, really.
Yeah, it's great. It looks great. The story is like genuinely interesting and well told.
Yep.
And like I say, it's like it's got that Chinatown thing where like there's this weirdly complicated seeming thing going on.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily have to fully understand.
It's crazy that that's happening. Like it is a kids movie, and it's like this convoluted, weird Chinatown-esque story is happening.
Yeah, it's all about like land rights and like corrupt government greed. But you have this the other story that you can concentrate on if you choose is the personal story of Eddie Valiant finding his reason to live again.
Yeah.
And also the Advis finding the tune that killed his brother and all that stuff. That is also a story that's happening that you can disregard all the other stuff if you want. It doesn't really matter.
And of course, there's Roger's whole dilemma as well, that his wife played patty cake with someone.
I know, I love that. That's so funny. The part where he's looking at all the pictures, patty cake, and it's animating because he's looking through them so fast.
Yes,
that is just such a good sight gag that will last with me forever. Yeah. So again, this is another one of those ones where I think it's really obvious that we're gonna love this film. But anyway, John. So Roger Rabbit is one of the best kids movies ever made. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it's the best, I don't know, but it's a hard fucking contender. I love it to bits. I love Roger Rabbit. I love the character of Roger Rabbit. I love everybody in this.
Yeah, everyone's
so good. It's so well made. It is just a real achievement. In filmmaking. Well, John, I've had it up to here with these two-dimensional goits. That's short for goiters, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you're taking some lessons from Cool World, are you?
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize. Oh, John, I need to go and bathe in holy water or something. I don't know, whatever the equivalent is. Some dip. Maybe I'll just drink a bunch of Roger Rabbit dip. Ooh. And that will clean my insides out and punish me for what I've done. Oh, my God. So, John, yes, we need to destroy these. We need to figure out...
Watching Cool World is punishment enough.
Yeah,
Kevin.
We need to figure out, the whole stopping the cartoon characters thing. But before we do that, John... before we do that,
Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the best.
I have to figure out Stop. Let me ask the question.
Oh, fine.
We have to figure out which one of these was the best movie, John. So, why did you like Cool World so much?
If you're being tortured, someone has a gun to your head, you're strapped to a chair, and they're forcing you to either watch Cool World or Monkeybone.
Yes.
Just take the bullet.
Don't take the bullet. Tell them what they want and get out of there. All right?
They're just trying to force you to watch one of those movies.
Oh. See, when you say tortured, I always assume that's because somebody wants information out of you or something. Again, I'm going with the film noir hard-boiled detective thing here, you know?
No, if someone's torturing you, the torture is for the person torturing, not the torturee.
Okay, you need to stop talking about this right now. I can't hear any more of this. I will not...
You're the one who said Cool World. I'm just trying to veer this conversation off the track.
You say, the more I have to divulge if I am called to testify. So just... It's better off that I don't know. Okay? I will never, ever, ever... I mean, if I really wanted to extort information out of someone, I guess making them watch Cool World would be a good place to start.
I actually don't think there's enough hours in the day to talk about every aspect of Cool World that is crap. It
could go through it scene by scene and pick apart everything that's wrong with it.
Occasionally I'm remembering wee bits, like that random girl who joins them near the end for no reason.
Yeah, who the fuck was she? The girl across the street?
Yeah.
She lives across the street and they just get involved. There's one scene early on where you see her in her garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then, an hour and 20 minutes later, suddenly she's, a central character. And you're like, who the fuck? What's happening? What?
And when people start turning into cartoon characters in the real, it's just so badly done.
It looks awful.
So crap. And again, it's just there's been, I don't know. There's just something very cynical about it. That there's been no care given to anything else. But as we said, Hollywood, which again, that name just
Hollywood,
fuck.
And now that is Wood spelt Would.
Yeah, but suggestive. Do you get it?
Yeah. Fuck the people who wrote this film. They are a disgrace to humanity. That's a fucking it's so bad. It's so bad. That's why I love it so much. No, it's so bad. I hate it. Cool World is genuinely offensive.
It's a low point for everyone's career, everyone who's involved.
Yeah, it's offensive to all senses. It's offensive. It looks awful. The sound design in it is fucking awful.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Characters' voices come from nowhere. And the sound effects just happen constantly when they're just trying to fill dead air, which is it's so obnoxious. And I don't know if it smells bad, but it looks like it smells bad.
This was 4 years after Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You can tell they're trying to the messages they got from Roger Rabbit were completely the wrong ones. As we said, they're trying to focus on the femme fatale character, but their one doesn't have any depth.
Zero depth.
There's just not the world that they create isn't interesting.
It feels like the only reason it starts off in the late 40s is because Who Framed Roger Rabbit takes place then. Yeah, but it takes place then for a reason, because it's trying to sort of satirize or pastiche film noirs. It's trying to pastiche Raymond Chandler specifically.
Yeah.
Film noirs, and it does it with just expert pen. They do that, whereas Cool World, it's like an afterthought of, we should probably have him be in the 50s or the 40s because that's when Roger Rabbit was, and then but the story involves, we'll just flash forward 40 years, will we? Yeah, okay. The fuck, man.
With no explanation whatsoever.
And he's a cop. I don't know why he's a cop. Because Eddie Valiant was a private detective.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard not to take that approach of just going. They clearly want to make an adult version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but
I would argue,
unfortunately they all have the minds of children.
Exactly. I would argue that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is for adults.
Exactly. This is the other point. Yeah, like there's so much of like the story, all these. It's like the best like kids movies generally are those ones that like they've innuendos that the kids aren't going to pick up. Like a lot of why Shrek was the first Shrek was very good was it was like made for adults, but kids could enjoy it on that very basic level.
Specifically the first one. The rest of those movies are
they're terrible. Yeah, but and like there's so many movies like that, and the kind of the more successful ones tend to be the ones that are kind of have enough for the adults to be interested in, whether it be the story and or the humor or whatever.
Yeah, like all the best Pixar movies, that's where they draw a lot of their stuff from. They're all aimed at children, but with very, very adult themes.
Yeah.
Like the Toy Story series is all about breaking down, or about the fear of a relationship breaking down.
Yeah.
It's the fear of abandonment. It's that someone else is going to outgrow you and that you're not good enough for them. That is constant through all the Toy Story movies. They're all terrified they're about to be replaced by someone better.
And I don't know anyone who hasn't been a mess after the first 15 minutes of Up.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that film's just a roller coaster. And like Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is all about like it's about an energy crisis, and it's about people who are going to work who like love their jobs, but it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about working life in a way. And them having to go to work every day, and like Sully and Mike Wazowski do seem to like really like their jobs, but there is this constant aspect of, oh no, you know, they're afraid they're going to get fired and stuff, and you know, everyone wants to be the top of the leaderboard, and there's greed and corruption running through that film in buckets.
Yeah,
you know, it's all about corruption. And that's why Roger Rabbit is so good, because it takes those adult themes and it doesn't really dumb them down.
No.
It just also has this great simple plot of like human characters going through something as well, while all that stuff is also happening. And it's just this beautiful blend. Monkeybone is so just boring. I'm going to say Monkeybone is just boring.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, really. Like it just to me it just stinks of like them. I don't think Monkeybone's a character that exists anywhere else.
I don't
but this
think
movie,
so, no.
It feels, if it is, I'd be shocked, because it feels like people who aren't used to, or maybe who shouldn't be used to, like making these kind of zany characters, trying to come up with one doing the least amount of work for it.
Yeah, Travis would just be the most simple sort of, I guess he's cantankerous.
Yeah, I guess he's an erection.
Yeah,
what if my cock got up and walked about? What if we did that?
And had a tail and was a monkey? Oh, God.
But, you know, I mean, we could have looked into doing Space Jam for this, because it would have fit in, but I kind of felt that there was too much crossover with the Looney Tunes aspect of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I was kind of like hoping to get more variety, and I really regret it.
Yeah, we didn't want to overload on cartoon rabbits.
Yeah,
I guess. But
like I'm not a big fan of Space Jam, but I would watch Space Jam any day over Monkeybone or Cool World.
I don't know.
At least it has Bill Murray in it.
Definitely over Cool World. That is a good point. It does have Bill Murray in it. No, I haven't seen Space Jam in a very... I think I saw Space Jam once.
Yeah.
In the cinema, maybe.
And vowed never to again.
Yeah, the thing is, John, I think I fucking hated it. Yeah. I think I fucking hate Space Jam.
It is bad. I've seen it maybe like twice. I haven't seen it much, but yeah.
I think I saw it the once and fucking hated it, because I never had really any interest in sports as such. So the basketball aspect of it didn't interest me. I knew who Michael Jordan was.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. And like, I remember watching the thing I remember about Space Jam is I remember watching it and being like, that's not Bugs Bunny's voice. That's not what that character sounds like in the Looney Tunes cartoons that they run on repeat ad infinitum that I see all the time as a kid, because they still run the ones from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're just like, that sounds wrong. That sounds like someone doing an impression, and it absolutely is. They have to change these voice actors because, I'm pretty sure Mel Blanc is dead long time ago.
But maybe they just shouldn't have made the movie then.
Yeah, maybe. And Friz Freleng and Mel Blanc are definitely long dead, so it makes sense that they would have different voices doing the characters. Okay. But that's the thing I remember most about Space Jam, which says a lot about the fact that I really was not enraptured by it when I saw it. So I don't know. Maybe Space Jam is better than Cool World. It probably has a more coherent plot.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything being as bad as Cool World.
Or
certainly very, very few things being as bad as it too.
Yeah, it was offensive on all levels. So, easily the best one of these movies is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for very, very obvious reasons to anyone who's seen it. It's a masterpiece of filmmaking.
It's one of those ones, if you haven't seen in a while, if you're like going, is it really that good? Like, just go watch it. It's so much fun, and it's so interesting. And if nothing else, you can just marvel at the technical achievements. There's a bit where, like, there's the ugly lady who's chasing Bob Hoskins, and like she catches him as he falls and kisses him, and you're like, even his cheek gets like kind of puckered. And stuff, you're like,
so
what?
convincing.
It's like
it's
they've
so
thought of every little detail when they're doing this.
Yeah, and even if you're just like going to let yourself get absorbed and not focus on that, the story is great. The dialogue is brilliant. The characters are so well developed.
Yeah.
Everyone in it, the acting's just brilliant.
Apparently,
everyone's great.
Like it's so good that apparently Bob Hoskins said his young son fell out with him, wouldn't talk to him for 2 weeks, because he didn't introduce him to Bugs Bunny. Because he said, you worked with Bugs Bunny and you didn't introduce me, you fucker. Probably didn't say you fucker. But
yeah, I doubt that. Oh, man.
But I kind of like to know that could be a little story that he maybe tells on the interview circuits. But to me, it sounds right, because at a young age, I probably...
It's so convincing, like, especially if you're a kid and you don't understand necessarily 100% that cartoon characters aren't real. You might be like, oh my god, this is so just like all these people together. Of course there's a Toontown.
Yeah.
Where else? It explains where they come from and everything. Makes in this weird way.
Sense.
It does. It all makes so much goddamn great sense. So... possibly one of the best kids movies ever made. Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Absolutely brilliant. So, now that we're done gushing about how glad we were to watch this movie, which of these films gives us the most information that we need to defeat, get away from, put back in the box these animated characters that have spilled out into the real world? Because, like, if we could make Dip and just murder them all, but that feels arbitrary and violent.
I would just keep having flashbacks of that screaming shoe. And
I know, it's like that. You'd wake up in the middle of the night.
I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to kill them.
That's the kind of thing that like gets you up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, covered in cold sweat, just screaming.
Can I just say we've learned nothing from Cool World or Monkeybone, so we have to find the answer from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I mean,
Cool World was so incoherent. I don't.
There was no information in it.
We can try and find a spike, whatever that is, and whatever it looks like, and wherever it is, and however you're meant to know about these things. And
I mean, in Cool World, the solution was basically just Deus Ex Machina, or just say, oh, this is a rule, by the way, that we didn't mention before, but is now a thing, and that's important now for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. We could do that. That's always a possibility. We just make something up if we're going to learn from Cool World, which is probably not a good thing to do.
in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it was literally you just go down a tunnel, and that's you in Toon World.
You could just leave, can you?
You can just leave.
You just get because like they're not doing any harm. As like, you know what? To be honest, if we hang around here, I mean, Marvin Acme did get cleaned out by a safe.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of think, it might be just a commentary on us doing this, that we're always looking for the we're always thinking these problems are maybe bigger than they are, when we can literally just walk down that tunnel.
We could get in an animated cab, a friendly, wise guy, friggin' New York, Brooklyn animated cab. Oh, he's so good.
I could sit and talk about him.
He's fucking character.
But I was in wrinkles whenever he got into the real car to drive.
He's driving. Yeah, the car is driving a car.
For some reason, I just find that so ridiculously funny.
Moment.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful, funny moment of just a car driving inside a car, driving it. It's insane.
Yeah.
Which it raises questions about the movie Cars in a way, where it's like, do you think the cars in Cars have cars that they drive around?
Oh,
maybe?
no.
Oh, no, yeah, well, fuck that. Right, well, we'll just hail a cab and get out of here. But we might want to stay. I mean, it's...
I'm warming to it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Valiant said, him and his brother used to love working Toontown. They thought it was a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So maybe, again, John, you're right. We keep looking at these things like they're problems.
Let's start our own private investigating firm.
Let's become friggin' Raymond Chandler-esque PIs and help out these cartoon critters with their weird problems. Oh, yes, that sounds good. Lenihan and Ferris and Lenihan, I don't know. Alphabetical usually works best, so
yeah, well,
that's fine. Flanahan investigations.
I think the Toons will appreciate that.
Yeah, I refuse to wear a fedora. I'm not doing that. I'll be the tough guy. I'll be the tough guy. You be the investigator. Those are our rules.
Done.
I've got a plus to my strength and you've got a plus to your intellect or whatever. Now it's an RPG. That's fine. All right. Well, we better just cut this off before we get too deep. Right. So we are on Twitter. We are at 7 Day Apocalypse. That is at numeral 7 Day Apocalypse. You can email us on filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. That's filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. All right, John. Look out for any falling safes, and let's go buy some property.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
That's the end, folks.
Oh yeah, my one's copyright infringement.
Yeah, exactly. Shut the fuck up.